Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with a small little update on the current Super Sentai Universe Warrior situation, as we got a little bit of news where we had this company, I can't remember the name of it, it's like Cartoon or something, but they're a distributor, I guess, of Sentai in Thailand. I'll put up the little post that I saw here when I'm talking about it, but they label the next upcoming series as Universe Heroes, which is not too far off from the rumors we've been hearing about the word universe being involved. In the last video I talked about how it could be Universe Warriors, Universe Senshi, just Universe, and they're doing this weird like United version Sentai or something. That's just a rumor. Again, it initially seemed to spiral from people thinking like the Universe Warrior name in Sentai was going to come from that. Maybe, but it was something that I saw very much as like a fan-made rumor to sort of cope, but then it seems to have some legitimacy, and this is probably the most legitimate thing that we've seen in regards to this, and probably the closest we'll get to any sort of quote-unquote announcement if this is true for a while. You know, I'll be really curious to see how long it'll take for Toei to make any kind of statement. It's really funny seeing people being like, I'm not going to talk about this at all until I hear anything from Toei. If anyone's seen American Horror Story Cult, it reminds me of that meme of like, I'm not going to believe anything until I hear it from Rachel Maddow's mouth. It's just so funny to see like the reactions to this and people trying to convince themselves nothing is happening has been really entertaining. It's been as entertaining, or more entertaining in fact, than Go Juju. Like the interaction also, I just posted this on Twitter, reminds me of a scene in The Office during the storyline where Ryan's coming in and making big changes and Michael wants to be reassured that everything's going to stay the same. So he's like, so business as usual. And he's like, well, it's definitely business, but not as usual. That's what this whole thing feels like. I mean, we'll see how this shakes out. Again, everything is still rumor at this point, but I think it's clear there's going to be some sort of change. And I think the fans don't do well with that, of any fans at all. And it's just so funny to see people trying so hard to convince themselves it's not happening, typing, it's just a rumor, it's not happening, I don't want to talk about it until I hear from Toei. You know, and the other reason I wanted to make this video is talking about, I think that we're not going to know how this show feels if it is a new show. You know, who knows? Maybe this is all smoke and we're going to get a regular Sentai. But I really feel like we're going to be getting a new type of show. Something with this universe thing I think feels real. A lot of people have said we shouldn't even be talking about this because it's just a rumor. But as I've said in previous videos, every year the rumor is literally just fan-based doom and glooming. But this year it has actual traction with stuff like this, with them posting about Universe Warriors, with like major outlets picking it up. I can't remember a time that the rumors of Sentai's cancellation that happen every year have popped up on like news outlets and stuff. So it has more credence. So I do think something is happening, but I don't think we're going to know how much of Sentai is continuing, for lack of better phrasing, until we get the announcement. Now, given this might be different, I'm curious, will the announcement come sooner? Will they announce it sooner because of all of the rumors going around? Will it happen around December? Will we get scans? Will we get a press conference? Will it happen later than that? I imagine if Sentai is going to wind down and we get close to December, they'll talk about it. But I think it won't be until we actually see what this looks like and the language they use that we'll know what it's going to be like. Because one thing I've seen a lot as the universe thing has gotten more and more concrete is people saying, it's not changing, it's just going to be a different name, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine, it's going to be the same, Sentai's not going anywhere. One more time, I'll believe you. But I think it really just depends on how much they're separating themselves. We don't know all the reason. You know, even when they announce why they're doing this and what it's going to be like, we might not know all the reasons. You know, it could be because Sentai's not doing so hot and they need a refresh. It could be because they want to go global and are trying to get around Hasbro. It could be going global and they don't necessarily need to go around Hasbro, but they just want to get around Power Rangers' reputation. It could be some of all of those things. I think it's going to really depend on how they present it, because there is that whole United version Sentai, so it very much could be like, hey, same software, different case, it's still Sentai, but it's evolving. And if they have a lot of that language in the announcement and make it very clear it's still a continuation, I think if they still do unnecessary legend gimmicks, like if we have these new Metal Hero type characters using a Jew Ranger card to transform into a Jew Ranger robot, we'll know it's business as usual. But I think if it feels more wholesale different and there's not a lot of legacy content and they're kind of marketing it as a new thing that's like a spiritual successor, because you can look at it as one of two ways. It's like a sort of soft reboot, soft rebrand, where it's going to feel like Sentai a little bit, but remixed, but it's still going to tether itself and do crossover films and legend gimmicks and attempt to continue that audience. Or you can consider it a totally new show that's literally taking Sentai's slot and has a bit of its spirit there, but it's meant to be something new. So I really don't think we're going to know how much of a continuation of Sentai it is until we see it, because it's just really hard to tell. Like I said, you have people trying to convince themselves that this is just basically the same thing, but it's like if it's a whole new name, I think they're going to be doing something new to a degree. And honestly, I'm excited for that. Like, as we entered Go Juju, I had assumed they were going to probably do more anniversary stuff for the next season, because even though they did all the mental gymnastics to make it the 50th stuff, I'm like, there's no way that they're going to do a 50th season without a forced Don Brothers changes or something. And then as we got deeper into Gojuger, I was honestly just hoping for a back to basics Sentai because I'm just so sick of Gojuger's nonsense. But then now that we have this, I'm actually more excited for that. I would rather have this new thing than more Sentai, just because, I mean, it might be Sentai leaning, but it sounds kind of exciting to me. It's something new that has Sentai-esque elements, especially going through finding photos for these videos of all these Metal Hero series, and some people saying it's going to look similar to Ryukendo. I'm like, I really like these designs. Like, I don't know if it'll be a hybrid or closer to this, but it kind of excites me, to be honest with you. Personally, for me, I hope it's something new with its spiritual tether, almost like a successor that's separate but has enough of a tether that we can go back eventually. Like, I think if they do want to press forward with something new, whether it's for an international push or to garner more attention in Japan or both, I think you have to make it something new. I don't think it's going to be fresh if you're like, brand new Universe Warriors, but also all these old hags are still here. I think that they need to make it something new with no crossovers to start, no legend gimmicks and stuff. Just make it wholly new, especially if the rumors are true about them wanting to go global a little bit, because you don't want to confuse your audience. Like, you don't want to be like, hey, we have this new hero franchise, Universe Warriors, streaming, and then, by the way, here's MMPR Red. People will be like, what are the Power Rangers doing here? It's kind of like I've seen people saying, I hope they do a Gojuger crossover in Zets. I'm like, they're not going to do that probably, because they're trying to gain a new audience, and the audience is going to be confused if the Power Rangers suddenly show up. So I think that if they do want to make a new push for local and international, it needs to break free as something new in terms of like just the show presenting. Like, maybe when they announce it, they'll say it's Sentai's spiritual successor, but I think in the show, you just want it to be something new for at least 3 to 5 years minimum. And I don't mind then later if they want to go back and do a crossover with Sentai. In fact, I think that would be cool to do like, this is the new show, it's a spiritual successor, but it's something new, and then you have like 5 years of it just being its own thing, and then you make a big deal 5 years in of like, they're teaming up with their predecessors, and we're gonna have Sentai teams up with the Universe Warriors. I hope they don't go crazy and then make that a regular thing like we have been, but make that an event instead of making a confusing jumping off point. I just feel that a rebrand really implies it's a replacement, like maybe a spiritual successor, but it is going to be something new. But I don't think we're going to know until we see what it looks like and the language they use and how they're presenting it as a continuation or not. Regardless of what happens, one thing I think that's come of this that's interesting is I think it sheds light on how warped the Western Toku fandom, specifically the Sentai fandom's perspective, is on Sentai's success. Like, it's certainly a well-known entity. I can't speak to that, but from what I gather, like, I don't know if every person on the street knows. But I think in comparing it to, like, Power Rangers' reputation, I think it's more so known as, like, a nostalgia brand from the 90s, where I think, you know, in Japan, it's more widespread known as, like, a show you grew up with when you're a kid. You know, it's an annual tradition. But I think when Western fans get into Toku, they see that Sentai is, you know, more culturally relevant in Japan in terms of that, and that it's a little bit more mature because they get blood on their cheeks and there was beer in one scene in Jetman, and they think, oh man, it's a juggernaut. And I think they view it as like their Batman in terms of like, or their MCU in terms of like, that whole country's waiting in bated breath for the announcement of Gojuger, and you know, every Sentai movie is the next MCU installment. That's maybe a bad example now because the MCU's fallen off on the public, but you know what I mean. I think that because they get that impression that it's a little bit more culturally relevant over there, and that it's a little bit more mature. And then, of course, you have the echo chamber of the fan base. It's funny because they have this idea that it's way bigger than it is over there. Like, it's been struggling. Like, it's shed light on, regardless of why this is happening, that Sentai has been struggling over there. And a lot of people are like, why would they do this to such a profitable brand? I'm like, bro, they're hanging on by a thread, even if this doesn't end up being true. You know, we're saying, oh, it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm like, I think it's broke. I think that's why they're trying to fix it. So I think it really just shed light on that, especially after the discourse a few weeks back when the Power Rangers news was out and people were like, wow, I wish Power Rangers could thrive like Sentai. I'm like, it's not really thriving, but it's surviving with a lowercase s. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what comes next. I hope we get more news soon. I'm really eager to get a look at what this looks like. I've seen a couple different rumors floating around. You know, the Magic one has been the most consistent, but then I saw another one that it's going to be a solo hero series about a detective. I saw another one about it having a robot buddy gimmick. So I'll keep you guys updated as this goes, but let me know what your thoughts are in the comments as always. Until next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.